recommend that he
decide
do
on.
that?
We will confer with them on what is the best strategy to move forward.
It's not often, I haven't been around this place as long as you have. But it's not often around here that we have a problem that has an easy solution. And this is a real easy solution. And I get politics. I understand why politically you folks want to have Republican fingerprints on the spending fiscal knife. I get that. But do you really, is your politics so important that you want to gamble here?
Hello everyone, welcome back to Congress Lens. I'm Audrey, and the clip you just watched is a perfect example of why Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana remains one of the sharpest interrogators in Congress. What stood out immediately in this exchange is not volume, insults, or theatrics, it's clarity. Senator Kennedy didn't rant. He didn't dodge. He asked simple questions that deserved simple answers, and what we saw instead was hesitation, deflection, and political tap dancing. This hearing wasn't really about inflation numbers or parliamentary procedure. It was about accountability. Who has power, who refuses to use it, and who wants to shift blame when the consequences arrive. If you value straight talk, uncomfortable truths, and real scrutiny of power, you're in the right place. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to Congress Lens, and turn on notifications so you never miss our breakdowns of what's really happening on Capitol Hill. Now let's get into it.
Senator Kennedy from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Secretary and Mr. Chairman, for being here. Madam Secretary, when you were here last, and we all look forward to you coming, I asked you to tell me what you thought inflation would be at the end of this year, and you told me 2%. Do you still stand by that prediction?
Clearly, inflation this year is going to be above 2%. Just the experience so far this year makes that clearly true. But I think we are seeing monthly inflation rates taper off.
Yes, ma'am. What do you think it'll be at the end of the year, if not 2%?
Probably closer to 4%.
Okay.
And that's already almost must be the case based on what's happened this year. But in my estimation, there are the types of supply bottlenecks that the economy.
I don't want to spend too much time on inflation, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have so little time, and I talk slowly. What party controls the House?
The Democrats.
What party controls the Senate?
The Democrats.
I believe we can agree that President Biden is a Democrat.
I believe.
Okay. Senator Schumer, who's a Democrat, and my friend, controls the Senate floor. And he can raise the debt ceiling by just amending the budget resolution, can't he?
It's possible that that could be done.
Yes, ma'am. So why didn't he do it? Why don't y'all do it?
Because
and then
this
we
is,
don't. Let me
because
just
this is.
Let me just finish. Why don't y'all just do it and then we don't have this fight?
Because
why do you insist on doing it the hard way?
Because it's very important to recognize that raising the debt ceiling is about paying bills that Congresses have incurred in the past. And it's a shared responsibility.
So why don't you,
Democrats
I agree with that. So why don't you just amend the budget resolution?
Democrats have provided votes in the past when both houses of Congress are controlled by Republicans, when the Republican Party was in the middle of reconciliation. 2017 is a good example, and Democrats pitched in to do their duty to raise the debt ceiling.
But I know all that, and and I appreciate your perspective, but let me ask you again. There's a real simple solution. Why don't y'all just amend the budget resolution? It just takes 50 votes by my Democratic friends and the vice president. Why don't you just do that? Problem solved. Done. Easy peasy. Finished. Let's go have a cocktail.
Well, it will be up to the leadership of Congress to
Are you going to recommend that he do that?
We will confer with them on what is the best strategy to move forward.
Yeah. It's not often, I haven't been around this place as long as you have. But it's not often around here that we have a problem that has an easy solution. And this is a real easy solution. And I get politics. I understand why politically you folks want to have Republican fingerprints on the spending fiscal knife. I get that. But do you really, is your politics so important that you want to gamble here on the sovereign debt of the United States when you have a very, very simple solution that you refuse to take?
I want to see that the debt ceiling is raised. As I've said, I believe it would be catastrophic not to do so, but I equally believe that deficits have been run under both Democratic and Republican administrations. It's important to recognize that, and that means that paying the bills for those deficits is a shared responsibility, and it should not be the responsibility.
I agree with
of any
that.
one party.
Very eloquently put, but it's a fact, isn't it? That you and your folks just want Republican fingerprints on the Democrats' effort to tax, spend, and regulate America into Europe. Now, it's your prerogative to do that, but this is all about the administration's desire to have Republican fingerprints on it and later call it bipartisan. And you know that, Madam Secretary, with all the respect I can muster, and so do the American people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy, I rarely speak between witnesses, but I wonder if Secretary Yellen takes you up on the offer to go get a cocktail, if you would pay or you'd skip out on paying the bill and expect Secretary Yellen to pay. Senator Menendez is recognized from New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had not intended to pursue this line of questioning, but I must say my distinguished friend and colleague from Louisiana always sparks my interest. Republican.
After watching the full exchange, one thing is crystal clear. Senator John Kennedy came prepared, and the administration did not. Let's start with inflation. When Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was previously asked what inflation would be by the end of the year, she confidently said 2%. Senator Kennedy didn't insult her for being wrong. He simply asked whether she still stood by that number. And to her credit, Janet Yellen admitted inflation would likely be closer to 4%. But here's the problem. Being wrong on inflation isn't just an academic mistake. It affects every American household. Groceries cost more. Rent costs more. Gas costs more. And Senator Kennedy did what Congress is supposed to do, force clarity for the public. Then comes the most important part of this hearing, the debt ceiling. Senator Kennedy walked Janet Yellen through a series of facts that nobody disputed. Democrats control the House. Democrats control the Senate. President Joe Biden is a Democrat. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, controls the Senate floor. Then Senator Kennedy landed the punch. If Democrats have the power to raise the debt ceiling on their own by amending the budget resolution, why won't they do it? That question never received a direct answer. Instead, Janet Yellen fell back on talking points about shared responsibility, and past deficits under both parties. But Senator Kennedy wasn't denying shared responsibility, he was calling out political theater. His argument was simple and devastating. If there is an easy, legal, and immediate solution that avoids economic risk, why refuse it unless politics is the real motive? And that's where Senator Kennedy was absolutely right. Democratic leadership wants Republican fingerprints on the debt ceiling so they can later call it bipartisan, even though they currently hold the power to act alone. That's not about fiscal responsibility, that's about optics. Senator Kennedy also exposed something deeper. This administration is willing to manufacture crisis pressure instead of taking responsibility, even when the consequences could be catastrophic for the U.S. economy. When Kennedy said, "Is your politics so important that you want to gamble on the United States?" That wasn't rhetoric. That was a warning. And notice something else. Senator Kennedy never shouted. He never lost control. He stayed calm, sarcastic, precise, and relentlessly logical. The discomfort in the room wasn't created by aggression, it was created by truth. Even the chairman's joking comment about cocktails at the end shows how effective Kennedy was. When humor enters the room, it's usually because the argument is already over. This is exactly what congressional oversight should look like. Clear questions. Direct responsibility. No hiding behind process or talking points. Whether you agree with Senator John Kennedy politically or not, moments like this prove why hearings matter and why leaders should always be ready to defend their decisions honestly. That's why this exchange matters, and that's why Congress Lens will always slow these moments down and show you what others want you to miss. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was Senator John Kennedy right to press this issue? Or do you think the administration's approach makes sense? I'm Audrey, and I'll see you in the next breakdown here on Congress Lens.